Good morning, televiewers, and welcome to today's edition of the Press Today, your Pan-African television, AFRIQUE media. Let's start today's edition with Sunday Post newspaper from Zambia. Today's paper writes that MMD Vice President for Administration, Dr. Brian Chituwo, and Party President Nevers Mumbles have different views about the expulsion of Major Richard Kachingwe as National Secretary of the MMD. According to Dr. Chituwo, the action taken by Mumba to expel Major Kachingwe was unconstitutional and that it will be tabled at the next full National Executive Committee meeting. Complete the story on page 4. The paper equally writes that UPND members of parliament will continue enjoying a cordial relationship with Given Lubinda, says party deputy spokesman Cornelius Mwetor, who is also Cormac Central UPND member of parliament, said there was no way the PF could hold a long-standing relationship with their fellow member of parliament. The story continues on page 4 of Sunday Post. Looking at Daily Observer from Gambia, the paper states that the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs on Friday, 14 December, presented before members of the National Assembly the total revenues, recurrent and development expenditure for the fiscal year 2013. Known as the budget speech, the occasion was presided over by the Vice President and Minister of Women's Affairs, Ajada Isatunje Saiti, other cabinet members, diplomats, and members of the community. The paper in another instance states that the International Criminal Court prosecutor on Thursday, December 13, told the United Nations Security Council that she is considering new war crimes charges against leading Sudanese officials over the Darfur conflict. Fatou Bensouda said the aerial bombardment of civilians, deadly attacks on UN peacekeepers and humanitarian aid convoys may constitute war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide. Looking at the Post newspaper, among this edition of the paper states that MPs urged criminal court to prosecute Frank Biya. Some members of parliament, led by Honorable Jean-Michel Nenche of the Wuri constituency, want President Biya's son Frank to face the law for allegedly pocketing 100 billion francs CFA state fund. Honorable Nenche brought the Frank Biya affair to fore during the closing plenary of the just-ended budgetary session at the National Assembly on Tuesday, December 11. See page 2 for more details. The paper again writes that New York, December 6, 2012, the Committee to Protect Journalists condemns Monday's criminal convictions of 3 Cameroon journalists who tried investigating a supposed government memo that suggested corruption in the management of state oil company. Visit page 17 for more details. Also find out on page 2 how SDF National Chairman John Fronti has called on funds to be apolitical so as not to mess themselves up or take sides in handling matters within their fandoms. Fro made the statement at a reception he granted some 13 funds from one clan of Donga Mountain Division on December 9th. Get a copy of the Post newspaper for more details. Looking at the Advocate newspaper from Nigeria, according to the paper, some unidentified gunmen on Friday shot dead 10 members of the local vigilance group in an attack on Rukudawa village in Zume local government area of Zamfara state. Sources said the killers as well removed the private parts of some of their victims and burned down all motorcycles used by the members of the vigilance group. Just below the kicker, the paper has this other interesting story that says Governor Patrick Yakuwa of Kaduna State and former National Security Advisor Andrew Owoye Azazi apparently died in a helicopter that crashed on Saturday, December 15, in Bayelsa State. Notwithstanding, Nigeria's National Emergency Management Authority, NEMA, had earlier indicated that the agency had activated a search for the crashed helicopter. Now let's look at Sudan's Tribune. Today's edition of Sudan's Tribune newspaper reports that the South Sudan Human Rights Commission, SSHRC, on Sunday called for the resignation of security ministers due to the killing of innocent civilians across the country and in the capital, Juba, in particular, and to allow investigation into the death of Isaiah Din Abraham to take place fairly. The statement was made by chairman of the SSHRC. The paper also states that the Governor of Sudan's Central Bank, Mohamed Keel al-Zabir, acknowledged that the country will not be able to reverse the deterioration in the value of currency without fixing the underlying economic situation causing it. Now, taking you to South Africa, let's look at Business Day. The paper cites that the embattled mining sector will close marginal shafts and shed tens of thousands of jobs if delegates of the African National Congress decide to impose higher taxes on it, warned Becky Sibia, CEO of the Chamber of Mines. The ANC's conference will finalize decisions on policies that the government will then take on board. Still in the paper, it's written that South Africa's ruling party for the past 18 years, the African National Congress, ANC, has marked its progress and its plans, and its mythical Congress, lifting each host city to a new plan of legend and fable in the lore of the party. Visit Business Day South Africa if you want to know more. Still in South Africa, we'll be looking at Cape Times. In the journal, it's written that Julius Malema has given the African National Congress, ANC, an ultimatum to either reinstate him as ANC Youth League president with full powers or face their consequences. In a letter of demand to ANC Secretary General Kwesi Motashe on Sunday, Malema described himself as being a loyal member despite his having been expelled from the ANC in April. See page 5 for more details. This paper equally writes that in an 11th hour development to the battle for the Mangwan, ANC Western Cape Provincial Chairman Marius Transman on Sunday night said he had declined an ANC National Executive Committee NEC position because he wants to concentrate on dislodging the Democratic Alliance from power in the Western Cape. Now let's look at the New Era newspaper from Namibia. The paper states that Namibian government negotiating team and the recognized trade unions concluded a salary agreement of 8% and other benefits for civil servants earlier last month. Civil servants have for the past weeks been in the dark as to when they will get the increment that will be backdated to April this year. The move comes as a great relief for many civil servants. The paper against reports that businessman Lazarus Shaduka was sentenced to 20 years in prison on December 14 after his previous conviction and sentence of culpable homicide for the death of his wife were set aside. After his initial trial, a public outcry followed what was deemed a lenient sentence. Visit New Era Namibia for more details. Moving over to Asia, we'll be looking at the Wall Street Journal Asia. According to the paper, Japanese voters on Sunday took a high-stake gamble on a new prime minister who is vowing a sharp shift in economic and foreign policy, hoping fresh leadership can do better in pulling the country out of its long slump and fending off security threats from around the region. Shinzo Abe, head of the victorious Liberal Democratic Party, has drawn notice worldwide for his campaign pledges for aggressive new monetary policy and big public work spending to pump up growth, and for his talks of a harder line against China in territorial disputes. The paper again focuses on the fact that the House Speaker John Boyne has for the first time proposed a tax rate increase, one that will hit income over $1 million in return for President Barack Obama's agreeing to significant cuts in entitlement programs, according to the people familiar with the matter. Taking you to the United Arab Emirates, we'll be looking at the Gulf newspaper. The paper cites that prominent Egyptian rights groups on Sunday called for a reconduct of the first round of referendum on draft constitution, claiming the vote was made by widespread violations, and Islamists claim they were in the lead with a majority of yes votes. Official results will be out on December 22nd, when the second phase of voting will be held. In another development, the paper reports that the children who survived Friday's shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary School will not have to return to the scene of the massacre when school reopened later this week, and instead will attend classes in a neighboring Connecticut town, according to Newtown school officials. Let's end today's edition with this paper, the Wall Street Journal, this time around Europe's edition. The paper states that Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood declared a narrow victory in the first round of a hotly contested constitutional referendum, even as activists report of fraud and calls for a rerun deepened the nation's political impasse. The Brotherhood's political arm, the Freedom and Justice Party, on Sunday said that its unofficial exit polls showed 56.5% of voters cast ballots in favor of the draft constitution on Saturday. The paper again reports that the Japanese voters decided Sunday to take a high gamble on the new PM Shinzo Abe, who is promising a sharp shift in economic and foreign policy, hoping fresh leadership can do better to pull the country out of its long slump and fend off security threats from around Asia. Well, that was the package we had for you, but do stay on AFRIQUE Media for more information.